Hi, you guys. Sorry. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. This is my life, right? So my kid was up all night last night with a sore throat, and he's got tonsillitis, so I got like 3 hours of sleep. I go live in your team page. Google Chrome's not working. Firefox isn't working. So we're winging it. I got my phone. You've got this beautiful California light coming through the window. I've got 2 on the couch, so no promises that one, if not both of them, will end up in this video at some point. It's an honor to be here. My name is Jessica Lanier, and I've been a coach with Beachbody for, what's up, Alexis? You guys have the most incredible leader. Can I just say, like, she's so cool, and it's such an honor to even be in your team page and be asked to do this. So, anyways, super excited to be here. I've been a coach for, it'll be 4 years already in March, which is so crazy. But I want to, for those of you who do have children, I hope you feel at home in this video. I know I'm barf on me from a child, so that is a win, I will say. I wanted to start off by kind of telling you how I got started and a little bit about my background, because it's a huge reason as to why I'm still here 4 years later, because every kind of step of my journey in coaching, none of it has been easy, and it's so worth it. And so I want to kind of give you some perspective on that. I knew in order to fully do that, I have to take you back really quick, as weird as it sounds, to my 11th birthday, because there's nothing like almost dying that gives you a passion and a clarity to live and to realize what you kind of want to do with your life, and to take things, you don't worry about the small stuff as much anymore. And if any of you have ever had that kind of like near-death experience, you know what I mean. So on my 11th birthday, I was headed home from softball practice with my dad. He was 6'7", ginormous. He took me on his motorcycle to make it like a special daddy-daughter day. And on our way home, about 8 minutes from home, we were actually hit head-on by a drunk driver in a truck. As you can imagine, a motorcycle and a truck, we didn't have much of a chance. He pulled into our lane, was going, I forget how fast, but we were both knocked unconscious, flew 30 feet off the bike. My entire left leg was smashed between the motorcycle and the truck. And my mom, I tell this story and I can't imagine my mom. She was only 33 years old. My dad was only 33 years old. I was 11. And I can't imagine the phone call that she got, being told that both her husband and her daughter were not expected to make it through the night, because that's how bad things were. I had 5 emergency surgeries to save my leg. I was in a coma and on life support for a week, and I finally, obviously, came out of it, only to find out about a week later that my father actually passed away. And we didn't know at the time why, because he seemed like he was getting better too. But then, and I'm like blasting through the story, but we found out after the autopsy a couple months later that it was actually due to a malpractice case. So early in my life, I had an appreciation for life, and I also realized I wanted to be there for people when life was really hard. I had some incredible people in my life during that time that helped got me through, but I also had some really bad experiences with people. I had bad experiences with nurses and with doctors. The complication from my dad's death was because of a nurse being very negligent. And so I decided at that point, as an 11-year-old, I want to be a doctor or a nurse. I want to do something with my life that can actually make a difference. And I didn't recognize this, honestly, until about a year ago, which is very bizarre. But prevention has always driven me. My life was changed. My father passed away from 2 completely preventable things. Someone getting behind the wheel under the influence, and a nurse making a very, like anyone would know, he basically pulled his feeding tube out while he was coming out of his coma, and she just stuck a tube back in and continued the feeding. And that caused an infection called peritonitis. That's what eventually killed him. And so that's always really driven me. I wanted to do something that his death, that it actually in a weird way mattered, that it helped someone else not have to go through that. And so I went through, it was like a year of me not being able to walk, doing rehab again, and softball was always a huge part of my life, so that was my driver to get his college scholarship. Ended up going to college as soon as I graduated high school to go to nursing school and play softball, and that's what I did. And through nursing school, I was like, I'm going to be an RN. This is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to make a difference. Got super sick, and the stress was insane. I had a ton of digestive and hormonal imbalances that the doctors couldn't figure me out. They couldn't, I remember having a brain scan, I think at 20, and I was 8 hours away from home and by myself, and they're like, well, we think you have a brain tumor. That's probably why your hormones are a mess. What? Really? Okay, I guess we're going to go through this. Ended up not being true, but they just couldn't find what was wrong with me, why I had the hormone levels of a 55-year-old woman at 19, 20 years old, or why every night in my dorm room my belly would swell up to where I looked like I was 5 months pregnant, and I was miserable. I had horrible anxiety, and it was around this time that I was like, I have to find an answer. I'm not getting what I want in Western medicine. I need to go look elsewhere. And after graduation, I continued my research and studying in nutrition and holistic health and Chinese medicine and homeopathy and herbology and all these things, and was able to actually fix myself through different alternative practitioners. I became a certified holistic health coach, and that was really where I started seeing more of my passion and my purpose come together. And so I found myself a holistic health coach, trying to do that as a career and making no money and working so hard. At the time, I was living in Spain. I have so many random pieces to my to my story, but I was living in Spain. I got married to a Spanish basketball player that I went to college with right outside of graduating college. Moved there, lived there for 4.5 years. Struggled with my health. I was on the struggle bus. Came back here, did workshops, and I just grinded it out as much as I could to figure out how I can make this work. Shortly after that, I got blindsided by a divorce, and I know that maybe sounds ignorant, but I really did. He just came home one day. I don't love you. I'm not attracted to you. You've gained weight since we got married. It was horrible. It was a really hard time for me to process, what am I going to do with this information? Am I going to be the victim and believe what he's telling me, even though I know deep down that it's not true? Or am I going to, I fought to save my marriage, it didn't work. And I realized at that point I had to let that go. And I had to decide that was the hardest, that was the lowest of my life at that point. I was living in Kansas. My family was all in California. I had no job. I had no house. I had no savings. I had spent it all trying to support him and his career. And I had to figure out what the heck I was going to do. And I knew my faith is a huge part of my life and my story. And so I really leaned into Jesus at that time and was like, okay, I have no idea why the heck you allowed this. I have no idea what this means in my life, but I know that you can turn the most tragic situations into the most beautiful stories. And so I need you to show me how you're going to do that. And I vividly remember sobbing and just being on my knees and being like, I trust you and I praise you. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this, even though I didn't feel it. I knew that there was going to be a bigger picture. He was going to use this for a redemption story. Shortly after, I moved home and I met my now husband. I upgraded to an American. No, I'm just kidding. We're very happy. And he had gone through the same thing in his life. Very similar situation with a previous marriage, previous wife who was unfaithful to him, and we are so extremely happy now. So that's kind of my character. Resiliency is a big part of who I am. seeing the bigger picture, having faith in a bigger purpose, and even when things are hard, I am very much a person who leans into it. And I share that with you because I feel like that's a character trait that really helps you in coaching, because it's not always easy. It's very simple. But I'm a firm believer that we pick our heart, right? And so I moved back, we got married, became a nurse in prison. I know that sounds super bizarre, but with my knowledge of holistic health and nutrition, I had a really hard time working in a hospital because I found I wasn't helping people like I knew I was intended and created to do. And so working in a prison, this is so twisted, but morally speaking, I did my job. Like I just went to work, I did my job, I got paid super well I basically got paid for what I might have to do with riots and all of that. And it was an interesting experience. And 2 years in, hated it. And I didn't know what to do because I literally described myself as a heart whore. I felt like I was selling my soul to the devil for a paycheck, because I knew I wasn't living in my purpose. I got pregnant shortly after being married, and I had my first son, and I had 3 months of postpartum leave afterwards, and I was in debilitating back pain, and I was already struggling with the idea of going back to work, and like most moms do. And I will be the first to tell you, I never saw myself as a stay-at-home or work-from-home mom. That's never what I wanted for myself until I looked my child in the face after I had a water birth. I'm such like a hippie nurse. But I remember pulling him out of the water and just the whole experience, and then realizing I don't want to leave you. Like, I want to raise you. And so that was a really hard transition for me. I also had, shortly after pregnancy, was diagnosed with a moderate to severe degenerative disc in my low back, where I couldn't barely hold him because it hurt so bad. I couldn't get up from a laying down position by myself. And I remember when my doctor told me that, and I was 29 at the time, and they said, I said, what do I do to fix this? I'm a very solutions-oriented person. They said, sorry, Jessica, there's not really much you can do for that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't degenerate, especially not at 29 years old. I'm not even 30 yet. And so it became my mission to fix it and to figure it out. And I had a lot to work for at a high necessity, right? And it was so random because literally, I want to say the next day, I saw this random chick's abs on Facebook and a before and after picture from being in a 22-minute hardcore test group after she had just had a baby. And I literally was like, I've never met this girl. We have no friends in common. I'm in California. She's in Boston. But I want to do what she's doing. I was familiar with Beachbody. I had drinking Shakeology before. I'd actually had done Ultimate Reset and had amazing results, done P90X and had amazing results, but I never really knew that there was a coaching aspect to it. I always had the weird, honestly, as a nurse, someone specialized in holistic health and nutrition, I thought I was better than Beachbody. I will be very honest with you. I really did. But at that point, I knew I was going back to work. I had a new baby. I didn't have a ton of time. I used to do CrossFit and go to the gym. I didn't have time to do that anymore. And so I was like, these 22-minute workouts I could do from home, I'm going to try it out, right? And I think it was $140, and you got the DVDs and Shakeology, and I think at that time the portion containers. So I reached out to this random chick who happened to be Elizabeth Hartkey. That's who my coach is. And I said, hey, your transformation's amazing. I don't know what you're doing, but I want to do it. I know how this goes. I want the coach membership because I want the discount. I don't want anything to do with active coaching because I'm a busy mom. I have a newborn, and I'm going back to work in prison where I work 40 to 60 hours a week. I don't have access to my phone. I don't have access to a computer, like email. So I don't have time. I don't have time for this. But I want these results for myself. She said, no problem. Here's how you sign up. We got signed up, and she sent me the cheesiest, most basic Word document that said, and all she said was, hey, in case you have any family members or friends who want to do this program with you, here's how you could get them signed up with you as their coach, since you have a coach account. And I was like, oh, this is my wheelhouse. I am a coach. I'm a certified holistic health coach, and I'm a nurse, and I'm a helper, and I love community. So I literally reached out to my mother, my mom, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my best friend. And I was like, this is the program I'm doing. This is this chick's results. Workouts are only 22 minutes. I want to get in shape after baby. We should totally do this together. Of course, they were like, yeah, let's totally do this. That looks amazing. I said, okay, I need your name, your social security number, your credit card, your address, and what flavor of Shakeology you want. That was literally my game. Like, that's all that I said. And they're like, why do you need my social? Oh, I don't know. It's for potential taxes thing because I'm signing you up with this discount membership, so it's cheaper. Literally my mindset was, I want it cheaper. Why wouldn't they? That's a no-brainer. So before I ever got my challenge pack, within, I want to say 4 or 5 days, I had 4 coaches signed up. And Liz was at a conference that weekend, and I remember she messaged me, and she was like, who are you? How did you already hit Success Club and Emerald? And I'm like, what are these jewels that you're talking about? I have no idea what kind of gibberish this is. And she's like, we need to get on a phone call. I want to talk to you because you have potential in this. And I want you to understand it a little bit better. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'll get on the phone with you. Before our phone call, she sent me 2 questions. She said, I want to know a year from now, if you could design your life, if failure was off the table, what would you want your life to look like? And then the same question, but 5 years from now. And she ended it with dream big, sister, to the point where it's uncomfortable. And I remember sitting at this very table I'm sitting at right now with my husband with a notebook and a pen and not having the slightest idea what to write down. It was so weird. It was like I didn't have the ability to dream because I'd never really done that. I followed what I thought I was supposed to do. I thought I was a big dreamer for saying I'm going to go to nursing school and spend $100,000 on my degree to help people. And that was celebrated because it's acceptable in our society. And so I was like, well, obviously I wouldn't be working in a prison. So let's start there. I would be home with my kids, and I would be helping people for a living with my own business because it's something that I love. And maybe 5 years from now, if I could, this sounds so crazy to me, but if I could maybe match my nursing salary, that would be cool. But I don't think that's really possible. And I remember on our call, she was like, you have no idea. And I really didn't. And she told me, I want you to show up consistently for a year before you judge this. Because usually your first years, you put in a lot more effort. You're learning a lot. It's like learning a different language. You're learning a lot more than what you reap, usually. And so I did. She told me the importance of Success Club every month. And so that's what I did. And I've hit it every single month. Like, I think there was only 2 months in 4 years that I've not hit SC10. And I'm okay with that due to the circumstances of my life at the time. But that was really like a huge turning point for me where I realized I can create my life, and this platform could provide for my family in a way that I never, ever, ever thought possible. Like, you guys, our Success Club trips, I would have never paid for my husband and I to go on a Caribbean cruise, ever. And we went last year on our first cruise, and it was paid for by Beachbody. And we just registered for the Riviera Maya, and we're going to take our 9-month-old, who I'm growing in my belly right now. Like, it's so insane, the potential that we have. And I think that's one thing that I've recognized about myself, that my necessity has always been very high. From the beginning, I had a high necessity to get out of prison. That was my goal. I had to make $4,000 a month financially for our family, because I made like twice as much as my husband, who also works he's now a sergeant, but he was an officer at the time in investigations at that same prison. But as a nurse, I made twice as much as him. So it wasn't realistic for me to quit my job. I had to stay, and I had to build up my business on the side to make at least $4,000 a month consistently for me to come home. And I did that at 2 years in. But why I kept showing up was because I had that vision that Liz had asked me of, I could get out of prison and I could do this from home. I could do something I love. I could provide for my family in a way that I never thought possible. So this is worth it. And so I would wake up at 4 in the morning every morning, and I would do my 22-minute workout, and I would nurse my kid, and I would make a shake. I had all of my meals prepped, breakfast, lunch, and snacks because I had to. There were several days I got held for 16-hour shifts and had to pump in a prison, like in a weird closet area. Like there's so many weird things. I took breaks and I would go out to my car because I couldn't have my phone on me, and I would check in on my posts and I would send messages. Why? Because my necessity and my vision was so clear. I'm going to do this. It's just a matter of time. It wasn't a question. I never questioned if I should be doing this or this is too hard, so I'm going to quit. Because like I said in the beginning, we choose our hard. This is hard. It is. It can be really hard in some aspects, but also leaving my kid every day to go to a prison was also hard. The same would be the case if I was working in a hospital, not doing what I love and not having the freedom to go on trips and not having the flexibility and working for horrible bosses. Like that would also be hard. And so I chose my hard, and I chose this because I saw the bigger picture and I saw the future and the potential. And so that is really what, especially the first 2 years of my business looked like. I always had a baby at home. I got pregnant again. Jeez. I like my husband a lot or something. When was it? I got pregnant again before my first son turned 1, and I had a miscarriage between my first two boys, and that was extremely hard. Again, really hard. And I know one of the questions I got from you guys is, how do you show up like in your first trimester when you're not feeling good? I feel like I have nothing to share about. And I had a hard time when it was really hard, like going through my miscarriage. That was a hard, like I share a lot on social media for the purpose of inspiring other people and making them feel like they're not alone in their struggles. And so it took me a minute to process, and I think it should sometimes when we go through hard things, to process. And a lot of people when they're pregnant, they don't want to share that they're pregnant until a safer time, which is totally fine. But again, like for me on social media, it's always been about how can I be a light in such a dark place, because social media is pretty dark and negative. There's a lot of bad stuff out there, but I've always been a solutions-oriented person. And so if I see people out there who are struggling and who are depressed, and I know that the majority of humans live on their freaking phone, I want to be the light. I want to be the person that they're like, because of you, I decided to go for a walk today. Because of what you shared, I shared that. And I've had coaches sign up with me, or new customers sign up with me because I was genuine and I shared about my miscarriage, and I became relatable to them. And then I shared through, what it was like working in prison with a baby at home and being like 5-6 months pregnant in a prison and growing a side business, because that was me as well. And it's all hard, but it's all so rewarding when you know what you're working for. You know what I mean? And so if you find yourself struggling with motivation, dig a little deeper. Why are you doing this? If you don't know, that's something you need to get clear on. Do you even want it? Do you see the potential? Are you uncomfortable enough in your current situation to want a way out? And if maybe you're in, I don't know if you guys are into Brendon Burchard. I'm a huge fan. I'm going to the High Performance Experience in San Diego in February with my husband. But he talks about living the cage life and then the comfortable life. And so many people are so comfortable that they're not eager enough to get out of it. And I've always wanted something bigger, because I knew if other people could do it, I could do it. It doesn't matter. And the beautiful part that I went through all of this, I went through growing a business with a baby in prison, growing another baby with baby at home, still working full time, growing this business, is that now I can be here to tell you that if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not a superhuman. I just had a high necessity and high clarity on what I wanted, and I really want to make an impact in the world, and so I figured it out. Liz, my coach, she may be incredibly successful, but she didn't walk me through how to do it. She was in a unique time in her business at that time, and I honestly am not. I never wanted to be needy to her, so I never we've had, and we're much closer now, but in my first 2 years, I maybe had 3 or 4 calls with her, one-on-one calls, because I felt like I had to earn her time, and I needed to figure it out myself before I asked her, and I learned that was a huge leadership skill on her part. She didn't try and tell me how to do it. I was not dependent on her. I had to figure this out for myself. And so I was up late watching YouTube videos on Lindsay Matway and how the heck she did it. And then I would implement, and I would fail forward and figure it out and change things as I go, and I still do that. So here I am now. Our team is continuing to grow. Every time I get an objection, I try to make a YouTube video about it. I'm a very big believer that there's a lot of people out there who don't understand what we do, and that's why we get objections. If you get a price objection, it's because they don't understand. They don't get it. I'm a huge nerd on Shakeology. You can go, I spoke at Super Saturday in NorCal in November, and I did a whole presentation on Shakeology. I've got like 5 YouTube videos on breaking down the value of Shakeology in a very unique way. And most people just don't get it. They don't get the value of our challenge pack. They don't get all of that. They don't understand what a coach is. So I'm a big believer that it's our responsibility to educate people. And that's the beauty of social media. So I'll do a live video on Facebook. I'll download it. I'll upload it to my IGTV, and then I'll upload it to YouTube. And I do the work one time, but it goes out to all those platforms. And I've gotten cold people, like not referrals, what are they called? Cold leads from YouTube, because I have so many different educational YouTube videos about the most random things. How do you hit emeralds in 24 hours? Why did I choose Beachbody as a business, but also for myself and my clients for health? Because you guys, what we have is unlike anything else out there. And if someone thinks that they found something better, be open to learning and say, please show me where you can find nutrition, fitness, supplementation, coaching, and accountability, those 5 things in one place for $160. You will not find it. And I've always had that belief that what we're doing is so different. And so I don't have a lot of objections, because I talk about that a lot and I live it. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to, my notes are like so crazy. I'm just gonna share with you guys, in wrapping up really quick, my top 6 tips for being a successful coach, consistently successful, even whether you're a mom and you've got kids at home, or I think there's a lot of first-time mamas on here who are pregnant with their babies for the first time. Congratulations. Or even if you don't have kids, but you work full-time. I know several, look at Christina Delgado, is freaking boss. I absolutely love her. And her story of having kids at home, an autistic child, and working 90 hours a week as a I think she was already a lawyer. Yeah, as a lawyer, and building this business on the side. If they can do it, you can do it. It's just all about our necessity, right? Okay, so number 1, especially for those of you who are pregnant and not feeling good, you have to prioritize your vital behaviors and self-care. If you're not living what you're preaching, it's going to be a struggle, and it's going to be forced. So especially in the first trimester, when you feel like crap and you're exhausted. I was so tired with this pregnancy, like so tired. I think it because I was chasing around two other toddlers. But I was excited because this is a unique marketing opportunity to share how my business and my tools can help women who are pregnant. And so as soon as we announced our pregnancy, which was, I'm trying to remember how far along I was. I think it was after my first ultrasound when I saw the heartbeat, because of my miscarriage history. Like, I was just a little bit nervous, and I think everyone has to respect when they want to announce it to the public. Then game was on. As a pregnant mom in my first trimester, my job was on social media to show up and show people how I was exercising, even when I didn't feel like it, or the days that I took a day off, and that was okay. But I was every day drinking my Shakeology, and I personally use most of the time Energize instead of coffee. And I talk about the adaptogens in Shakeology and how it helps me with my energy. I just share, like, I use Hydrate. Hydrate's an incredible electrolyte supplement for pregnancy. And I just show up every day. Even though, like, I don't know about you guys, but my first trimester, I never want to eat vegetables, ever. And so I show myself doing super green, like our Shakeology super green boost, shots of that, because I could not get any vegetable in my body without throwing up. And so I show myself doing that at least I know I'm getting stuff in my body for my baby. I'm a firm believer. I'm actually creating a holistic prenatal course my midwife asked me to do. And I'm a firm believer that eating for two means you're growing a human with the things you put in your body. Now, you don't have to be perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But to me, I take that to heart. Like, I have your responsibility as a mother starts now to start taking care of yourself. And building your business, in my opinion, in my perspective, I should say, is a part of that. It's going to be hard, but parenting's hard. And there's so many gray areas. And so I'm going to do the work now, because my third son, as well as my other two, deserve the best of me. And I know that that's how I'm going to get there. So number one is prioritizing self-care, vital behaviors, and make it fun. Be honest on social media. Like, I'm struggling today. Thank the Lord for my liquid motivation. That's what I call Energize. Thank the Lord for my team and my community I can lean into. I'm so proud of them for showing up, and they make me want to show up even when I don't want to. And then people start getting curious, right? Number two, find your high necessity. Every single successful coach, like every single one, has had a high necessity. It's just figuring out what that is for you. If you don't want it bad enough, you're never going to wake up early and stay up late and do the hard things it takes to get through the grind of especially the first few years of this business. If it's not connected with a bigger purpose and you don't have a reason to do it. But especially for those of you who have kids, they become the reason. Like, oh my gosh, my kids are not my excuse as to why I don't show up, why I don't work out, and why I eat crappy or eat fast food all the time. They are my reason why I prioritize those things, because they deserve the best of me. And I want to get as far away from a cancer diagnosis as possible. I want to give them the best foundation at health. So that's my fuel. That's why I show up. They are not my excuse as to why I don't. And the same goes with my pregnancy. So that's number two. Find your high necessity. Why are you going to show up even when it's hard? Okay, number three, I hear this all the time. I don't have the time. I don't have the time for this business. I said it myself. But that's an excuse, and it's not true, I can promise you, because I have the same 24 hours in the day as Oprah, as Rachel Hollis, as Tony Robbins, as Melanie Mitro, as Alexis Doss. I have the same 24 hours. So if other people are crushing it in their business and having a family, then I just need to get smarter. And I need to want it more than I have been. I need to turn off Netflix. I need to look at all the time that I'm wasting and realize that I just had Katrina Scott. I don't know if you guys know her, but she just spoke on our team call yesterday, and she was like, she does habit stacking where she drops her kids off at school, parks in the parking lot. She cannot leave that parking lot until she sends 30 invites on her phone. Other people send 10 invites every time they go sit down to pee, and they can't get off the toilet until they send 10 invites. So the truth is we absolutely can do this even when you are working a ton, or when you have kids at home, or when you're growing a human. It's just you have to want it, and you have to prioritize it. Like, this is a freaking business. It's not going to grow on its own. Just like if you had a brick and mortar that you had to show up to, just like if you were hired and you were getting paid 6-7 figures a year to show up at a different job, you have to treat this the same way if you want it to pay you the same. Okay, number 4, my notes got all jumbled. I had written, this is specifically for, it could be anyone, but I needed this more as a work from home mom. Get help. Don't be afraid to get help with your menial tasks or get help with your kids. So my boys go to daycare 2 days a week. for the whole day. I have an incredible daycare that's down the road. I'm very blessed for that. I was very hesitant to spend the money because it's $70 a day for both of them now, which is actually really good for daycare in California. But what I do with that time, with that focused time, I'm making exponentially more. So if you need to hire a house cleaner and you pay them $15, $20 an hour to do, so that you can do work that you're getting paid $100 an hour to do, it's worth the investment. And I know not everyone financially can do that, but if think about, like, do you have family who could pitch in and help you with certain things? Do you have little sisters or cousins that you could pay a smaller amount to help out with the kids or help out with washing dishes or help out with laundry so that you can focus on building an empire because you're going big places? Then it's so worth it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend doing that. Okay. And then number 5, you have to know, because we trick ourselves in a comparison game. No one has their shit together. Not one person. No one has it all together. No one has the perfect roadmap. No one does things perfectly all the time. Every single successful person that you see has failed their way forward and figured it out as they go. Like, no one has it all together. But unfortunately, I see so many, especially newer coaches, comparing themselves to other people and saying, I could never do what she does. I don't have their personality. I don't have their public speaking skills. I don't have their experience. I don't have their background. That's probably one of the hardest things that I get with new coaches because of my background, because I love public speaking, because of all of that. Oh, they get intimidated. I could never do that. But they don't see the decades of work that I put in before. So just know that I was on a call with Doug Moss from corporate the other day too. And he was like, I think there was 180 elite coaches. And he was like, there's 180 different ways to get there. There's not one way to do this business. You have to figure out how to be consistent and do it in a way that works for you and your family. Okay, lastly, are you ready? Get crystal clear on your vision and remind yourself of it every day. Whether that's a Post-it note, the background on your phone, find a self to remind yourself why you're going to keep showing up even after you've sent 50 invites in one day and not one person has responded to you. Why, when you get a nasty message from somebody on Instagram or on Facebook for sending them an invite and they're like, you're the reason why, this happened to one of my coaches, you're the reason why other network marketers can't make it, how rude. And I was like, wow, you need a hug and maybe some Shakeology. But like, why are you going to keep showing up when this gets hard? Because it will get hard. And you're going to have days where people are mean. You're going to have days where you're sitting at the last day of the month and you haven't hit Success Club. You're at SC0 and you don't know what to do. And that's when you flip the script and you change your perspective and you recognize, am I going to be a victim of my circumstances, and am I going to choose to believe these lies, and I'm going to let this one stranger crush my dreams in my world who doesn't know anything about me, or am I going to prove them freaking wrong, and am I going to show up anyways, and I'm going to show other people that even though it's the last day of the month and I'm at SC0, I'm going to end the day at Success Club because I can, and I believe in myself, I believe in my mission, I believe in my unique tools that I have to offer people, I believe in this business, and I know that if I just put my mind and my work to it, I can do it. And it's a choice, and it's not easy, and it doesn't come natural, and it's a habit. But I promise you, this kind of like mental shift that we learn through this business changes your life, because then you apply it to your parenting, and you apply it to your marriage, and you apply it to everything around you, and you end up truly developing into the best version of yourself when you do these things. I don't even know what time it is. It's probably like 3 hours have gone by. Both of my kids are snoring, so that's good news. Any questions before I jump off? You guys can also, for anyone who watches the recording, if Alexis lets me stay in here for a little bit, you can ask me questions in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer. But thank you guys so much. You're an incredible team, and I hope that you're able to take one thing away. Sorry, I talked your ear off. But I'm really thankful to be in this network with such incredible people, because I can't save the world by myself. I love being a part of this community. I'm due July 25th. So I'm 14 and a half weeks pregnant. Your third one, like I used to know the days and the fruit that they were, and like I don't know anything right now. I think I'm 14 and a half weeks though. I know I changed on the Saturdays. It's my week mark. And I'm a total nerd. Like I said, I do water births. I'm not going to Summit because I'm going to be giving birth. So that's super crappy. Like literally when I found out I was pregnant and I calculated the due date and I was like, dang it, we did not plan this well. But congratulations, Bridget. That's awesome. That's so exciting. Yeah, being pregnant is awesome. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't love being pregnant, which my mom gets so mad at me for saying. I love the babies, but like I don't love being pregnant. I feel like I'm disabled because I'm mentally like such a driven person. But I'm very thankful for healthy pregnancies. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. But thank you again, and I hope you have a good day. Go kick some ass.